Week 1, officially in the books in the National Football League and in fantasy football. It's time to adjust. We race to the waiver wire to see who can either strengthen the strong teams that we have or bail us out from disaster 1 week into the year. Let's look at the fantasy football waiver wire. Week number 2's waiver wire. This is a very important time. Always, you can't win your league at the draft. You got to make the smart moves on the waiver wire to help you get through. So if you have any fantasy football questions, fire them away in any chat that you are tuning into this for today, and we will kind of rock on and answer all of those. We got fantasy football stuff coming up here over the next couple of segments, so fire them away in the chat. Up first, we are going to go at quarterback. The first waiver wire. To qualify for this, normally it is under 35%. I had to stretch it to 40% because of the running back situation. But for the most part, under 35% is what we are looking for, which means Michael Penix at 32% owned is something we're looking at. I do think that they're going to be facing a strong Minnesota defense this week, but Penix looked really good last week, spreading the ball around, using his legs, attacking that defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that I think is relatively solid. I don't think it's as good as Minnesota's is, but I think it's pretty solid. So I think that this is a player that you should be looking at. And even if week number 2 doesn't go very well, I think Penix is probably going to be a viable option as a QB going forward. So maybe one that even if it doesn't work out next week is a stash on your bench to see how he kind of progresses as the year goes on. The next one is a kid who we kind of talked down a little bit in some of our other NFL talk here, but it's Bryce Young. He's 24% owned. I don't love how he looked in week 1 against Jacksonville, but I think it's a good matchup against Arizona, who had their issues with New Orleans, which is the worst offense in football. So I think Bryce Young, based on the matchup, still has an opportunity to get you a few fantasy points if you are looking for a quarterback this early in the season. Let's go to wide receiver. Up first is Cedric Tillman, 28% owned. He had 8 targets last week. They're facing Baltimore. It probably won't be the same type of a shootout that Baltimore was in last week, but still, Ravens gave up a bit in the passing game to Josh Allen, who is not Joe Flacco, but still, there are some options there. And Cedric Tillman, I think that 8 targets, that's going to be something that's pretty consistent going forward. Maybe this next one's the better option. 25% owned Joshua Palmer with Buffalo. 9 targets last week, going up against the Jets this week, who, while I'm still going to hold strong that I think they're a decent football team, that defense had some coverage breakdowns against Aaron Rodgers. And it's one thing to give up 4 passing touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers. Now they're playing Josh Allen. And so with Allen throwing the ball to Joshua Palmer, I think, again, even if this isn't the big week, that is a player that I want on my team in medium to deep leagues in fantasy football. And then lastly, Demario Douglas at 16% owned. He had a rough week against the Raiders, but he gets a touchdown to save the day, relatively okay target volume, and he's facing Miami, who made Daniel Jones look like Peyton Manning in week 1. So Miami, for the time being, is going to be oh my God, we're playing them this week, start everybody. That's going to be something that we look at, I think, going forward. And that is one we're going to try to take advantage of this week with Demario Douglas. Up next is Trey Benson with the running back spot now. And this is where we had to stretch it. The running back market is scarce this week. And so we had to make the adjustment. Trey Benson, 39% owned. So 8 carries, 1 reception, going up against a Carolina defense that wasn't awesome a week ago. It's a slower running back market if he is still available in your league. I think he is going to get good volume throughout the year. Like, we're going to be looking at 10 to 15 touches, I think, for the most part this season on an offense that should still do pretty well. So I like this as a season-long type of a play also. Up next at running back is Roschon Johnson. Again, kind of speaking to the lack of depth in the free agent market in fantasy football this week. Roschon Johnson, 7% owned. He didn't play this week, but Monangai didn't do a whole lot against Minnesota. Swift looked good, but I don't think that they are going to just go with one running back this year. And I think Roschon Johnson is going to get into a few more of these games and a few more of these plays when he is healthy. We will see about his health status, but wouldn't be a bad pickup here in week number 2. Let's go to tight end. And the number one, honestly, this might be one of the better pickups of the week. It's Juwan Johnson with New Orleans. 1% owned as a tight end. He had 11 targets last week. He is one of the best pass catchers on a bad offense, so why not? It's a tough matchup against San Francisco. It's a tough offense to be a part of, so don't watch the games, but just watch as the fantasy points rack up for Juwan Johnson this week, as I think that volume is really going to help him out as a tight end as the year goes on. And the next one is kind of a I can't quit you guy. It's Chig Okonkwo with the Tennessee Titans. 35% owned. Quieter week 1. That Denver defense is really strong. So I think better days are ahead for the hulking tight end with the Tennessee Titans. For a streaming defense this week, there's a couple of them. I would go the main one, the New England Patriots. Their defense at 14% owned, facing Miami, who looked like a disaster in week number 1. That's an offense I want to have my defense playing against. So lock that one in. And then the next one is the LA Rams at 29% owned. It's a good matchup against the young Tennessee Titans team. So I like the Rams in that spot as your streaming defense for week number 2. But any other fantasy football thoughts, let me know in the comments or in the chat as we roll along with the show here today, or again, watching it after the fact. Also, if you want to help support Couch Potato Diary, you can do so with the tip jar. There's links to it in every bit of content with Couch Potato Diary, and there's a panel on Kick and Twitch for you guys there. It would really mean a lot to help out the show in that way and provide a lot of support. I understand times are what they are. Not everyone can afford that sort of a thing. Just watching is all the support I could have ever imagined. I really do appreciate that. But if there is a little bit more you can do on the financial side, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Or for those watching on Twitch, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe button. It's September, I believe, with Twitch. So let's try to see if we can get that number up a little bit and just help me out so we can make a little bit more of this more regularly going forward here with Couch Potato Diary. So